Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Point of View. Our first guest on the show is guest Chef Tony. Chef Tony will be remaining anonymous for this interview, but he gave us a ton of meaningful insight on his life. We talked all about his cooking, his family, what motivates him in life, and even his thoughts on dying, so stay tuned for that. I'm so excited for you guys to give it a listen, and I hope you enjoy it just as much as I did. So without further ado, here we go, Chef Tony, everybody. Hello. Today we have our first guest on the show, Chef Tony. So welcome to the show, Chef Tony. How are you doing today?
Hey, Claire. Thanks for having me. This is awesome. Really happy to be here. It's been nice chatting with you already and getting to know you over the last couple of weeks. So thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Of course. Well, we'll just dive right on into it, I guess. Start out, give us a little background information about yourself. What do you do?
Yeah, sure. Originally from Wisconsin, born and raised out there. Moved to Colorado around 1999. So I've been here 20 years and some change. Been loving every second of it. So, been kind of a journey to where I'm at now. But last 5 years I've been here at Colorado College, just enjoying it, loving what I do here, and having a good time with that. Can't complain a whole lot. Happy to be here doing what I do at the college. I'm working in the kitchens, doing all sorts of stuff here on campus. We got events all over the place as far as athletics stuff. We got pop-up events. We got the Rassel Cafe going, Preserve, all sorts of good stuff going on here on campus. So it keeps me busy, that's for sure.
Definitely. What made you decide to get into kind of the cooking realm of the world?
Yeah, so I always kind of had a love for the service industry, the food and service industry, if you will. My first job back in the day when I was trying to save up a little extra money for a car was slinging pretzels at Annie Ann's Pretzels at the mall. Believe it or not. That's kind of where it all started. And I just, it was more about just the people I met working there and just at the mall that I kind of just fell in love with it. I had all the pretzels and lemonade I wanted. I could barter for CD singles at Sam Goody's at the closing time. Like, it was just awesome. It really was. So that's kind of when I first fell in love with the whole food environment. Worked in some restaurants throughout high school as a busboy, and then as a server, and then as a bartender, and just kind of went up from there. And then my last year in college, I had an option. I could do an unpaid internship with the police department down in Pueblo, or I could do the manager and training program with the restaurant I was working for and already make some money like right out of the gate. And that's just kind of which direction I went. And haven't looked back since. It's a lot of nights, some weekends, some holidays, but it's been a good ride for me, and I've really enjoyed it. I stepped away for a while to do commercial construction, pipe rehabilitation specifically. That's some serious work. And it was good. I made a little bit of money doing that, made a little coin, was able to put a few dollars away for a rainy day, but that's a tough go. I mean, we're talking driving big commercial equipment, 18-hour days was not out of the ordinary. Going down into sewer mains and things like that, repairing pipes. It was just quite rigorous, and I just said, man, this is good, but I got to go back to what I love to do. And I had a conversation with my dad. He's always giving me insight and stuff. Try to take him, he's just a source of knowledge that I love dearly, and what he has to say has just always been important to me. So he said, why don't you, if you think about it, why don't you go try doing something that you just enjoy, something that you love, because then it's not really work. He was a PE teacher and a coach for 35 plus years and retired, happy as can be, and he still substitute teaches and coaches and referees and things like that. But he just, that was his kind of outlook. He loved going to the gym. He loved helping the kids out at school, being a mentor, giving some positive vibe back out there into the universe. And so I just kind of took his advice, and cooking was the one thing for me that just I never really minded it. It was, I was happy to do it. It's never been like a chore per se. So I'm happy to cook lobster tails and serve filet all day long. So it's fun. It's a fun job for me. It's always something new. It's new menu every day, and you're always trying different things. If you don't learn something in the kitchen, that's kind of your own fault because food is always changing and evolving. So
for sure.
yeah.
What would you say has been kind of the biggest lessons that you've learned as being a chef, and how has food kind of changed your life?
The one thing that you have to be aware of with cooking is you're always against the clock, I like to call it. There's always deadlines that you want to strive to meet. So I think organization is really critical. Prioritizing tasks, what are your important things that you got to do for the day. And that some of this stuff translates into everyday life, communication. I got to be able to talk to my team, my teammates, my chef, my boss, everybody. Hey, if we're working together and communicating, it's huge. It's a huge part of being successful in the kitchen for sure. Multitasking is definitely good, but staying light on your feet, being able to pivot, being adaptable. You can't be so stuck in your ways, day after day after day. Everything gets boring and kind of stale that way. So, being a little bit flexible is a good quality to have. And just I think a lot of the battle is just having a good attitude and showing up and giving a good effort. I mean, and the good thing is those are the two things that you can control in life. No one else can control your attitude or your effort. So it's kind of what you want to put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And that's why I've kind of embraced it. I kind of had a background in sports, which is kind of the same thing. My dad being a PE teacher is, it's kind of like you can get as good as you want to get. How hard do you want to practice? How much do you want to learn? I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't have any actual professional training, but the food I put out is pretty good just because I put in hours and hours of work. And it's kind of funny when I first look back, when I first kind of started out what I would call professionally cooking, very novice, and you just learn. You got to be willing to show up and absorb what you can for the day. And I would always try to test myself to get 1% better. Like if I get 1% better in the kitchen, if I learn one thing better, if I do one technique better, then day after day, it's going to add up. So that's kind of the outlook I try to take.
That's definitely a really, really positive outlook. I like that a lot. Yeah. You mentioned how your dad influenced a lot of kind of your thoughts and your work ethic and stuff like that. Is he still around today?
He is. I'm blessed to have him and my mom still around. They're up on the north side of town. Love you, Mom. Love you, Dad. Give you guys a little shout out, of course. They've been a real blessing in my life. We grew up fairly modest. It's not like, I was living in a palace or anything like that. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but she, had dinner on the table and she took care of me and my brother. And it was good. It was a great upbringing, and they instilled the things that what I think are important. You're only as good as your word, right? That's what you have to give, right? If we can't sit here and have an honest conversation to each other, then what are we doing here? It's like, let's not waste each other's time, right? So honesty was always kind of the best policy. And your family and friends are, at the end of the day, those are the people that are most important to you. Keep them close. How can you help others was always kind of my dad's big thing is like, did you make it to the top of the mountain? Okay, cool, that's great. Did you really dig deep and pull up a friend or two along the way? That's what's that was always, I thought that was really cool. Not only he always he had some really good insight. He said, you got a great outlook every day, Dad. And he said, well, the first goal he had in his days is, well, if I can make one other person's day better, just one person, like that was his goal when he first started out when he was young. Hey, if I can help one person a day at the school, that's a good place to start. And he said ever since then, that was just kind of his mentality, and just kind of snowballed from there. So I think at a real simple level, like, I don't know, it might be cliche or whatever, but the older I get, that's just kind of becomes the focus. Like the less selfish I become sometimes, like the more rewarded I get. You know what I mean? Like just kind of that putting that good energy out there. and that's why I think the service industry is good for me too. Like I get that satisfaction, even if it's just giving you guys like a decent lunch or something healthy for you, or a smile throughout the day. Like to me, that's like at a very simplistic human level what is important to me. So
Of course. I really like that answer. That's really awesome. Would you say that food is kind of your passion, or would you say that food is kind of like almost like a love language kind of thing? Maybe a little bit of both too.
It's definitely a little bit of both. You're right, because, I'm not quite sure the exact science behind this, but I've worked with food long enough to know. It's my personal opinion that like your emotion when you are cooking, or your state of like, your your emotional state, really kind of translates onto the plate and into the food. I don't know, like I said, what the science is, but you can tell when someone has put the time in to salt the tomatoes, to zest the orange, add a little sprinkle of this, a little hit of love there. It's like you can taste it. You really can. So that's what kind of hooked me to it. Is when you put together that complete dish where it's really balanced, it tastes great, it's nourishing to somebody's like life on a real minimal level. That's what else can I give you? That's what I can. That's what I got for you. So I don't know. It's just really cool, and that goes back to my grandma. She could hook up the best, meanest blueberry pancake breakfast that I've ever had, and I don't know. It's just the love that she would put into it was awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your favorite dish? Non-deep question, but important nonetheless.
I would have to order any basically cut of steak, probably a filet mignon with some roasted or sautéed mushrooms and onions with a little bit of a salad, maybe some rice pilaf.
That sounds very good.
Couple diver scallops on the side, white wine, maybe a little butter. Call it a night.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Have you been anywhere that's like influenced kind of like your cooking?
Well, there's several places jump out. I love the food back home in Wisconsin. Very hearty, kind of sticks to your ribs, dumplings, pot roast, fish fries, those kind of things that just kind of like, they're definitely, maybe not the healthiest option all the time, but some things that just kind of hit the spot. But then again, I think that's just kind of more of attached to an emotion to me. But actually, working here at the college has been so beneficial for my palate growth as far as tasting different things, trying new flavors, because we try to do a good job of putting a spread out there. There was a whole station called Global that I did for a little while, which was we tried to go to 5 different countries, every day of the week. So I'd say this place has actually played a pretty big influence on the flavor profiles I go for. I try to hit like the high notes. If it's a spicy dish, I want to make sure you get some heat in there. But I also try to like mellow it out just enough to kind of play off the other tones, so it's not too overpowering. I think that's kind of the goal. I had a really good mentor in the kitchen. Star is her name. She told me, hey, once you kind of learn how to play with the savory and the sweet, when you can have it salty and kind of sweet in the same combination, then you got it going on. So that's kind of the game. It's all balance, all chemistry, kind of, right? If you add too much garlic, it's overpowering. If you add just a little bit, that's where your flavor comes from. So it's definitely some chemistry in the kitchen, which makes it kind of fun too. And we try to do a good job of using recipes and stuff, but at the same time, like I said, food's kind of made with love. Sometimes it needs a little bit more black pepper. Sometimes it needs a little more agave or whatever it is. So that's what's fun about the kitchen is it's constantly changing, and the food's always evolving, and we want to try to keep up with what's new and what's good and also healthy. That's why I love the station I'm doing now, is I try to put as much healthy stuff out there as I can for you guys. So.
How has like health kind of impacted your life? Have you had any health concerns over your lifetime, or you say no?
I've been fortunate enough to be pretty healthy along the way. I did have, unfortunately, recently I had a good near and dear friend who is way younger than me, was unfortunately in a car accident. And there was a little bit of a time where it was kind of in limbo. That was really challenging. being in there with his parents and stuff, it made me just really appreciate life that much more, because it's 1 minute you're good, the next minute it'd be any one of us. It's just kind of the reality that we live in. So don't forget, all you listeners out there, embrace life to the fullest. Give love when you can. Let's be kind to each other and share the love, you guys. It's awesome.
I love it. That's great. Well, I'm going to kind of backtrack to a different topic now. We've kind of sprinkled in a little bit of talk about family, but let's
Sure.
dive into that one a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anywhere you want to.
Yeah,
go with
sure.
that,
Yeah, my mom and dad moved out here. My dad got a job teaching and coaching out here from Wisconsin. So that I was still pretty young, just in 5th grade. But so it was kind of a transition for me. But I was good. I got to make some new friends and got to check out a new part of town. My brother, I have an older brother who is awesome. We were kind of not the he's the one brother that I had growing up. That's it. I only had one, so I knew that. Like, that's my brother. Like, no matter what, I had his back. But there was times when we weren't that cool growing up. There was some competition. He was a couple years older. It was just kind of silly. Not necessarily from me. I always just felt like I was constantly kind of being compared to him, whether rightfully or wrongfully. So, and I think that caused some friction on his end, which it is what it is. But I think it's just something that we kind of grew through and worked through. And when he went off to college, believe it or not, that was actually when we started to get along. He wasn't around as much. We weren't on the same teams anymore. He was out doing his own thing, and I was still doing my thing at home. And that's when we really kind of actually started connecting as friends and not just brothers anymore. Like, we started to, hey, what are you up to, man? Let's go actually hang out. Let's spend some time together. I missed him. I think he missed me a little bit, and that's kind of when our relationship really took off. And he's out in California now. He is doing awesome. He works for the federal government. Super smart guy. Got all of his ducks in a row. He always has. He graduated from UCCS with a 4.0 and went into the ROTC program there. And he's awesome, and he's super smart. I got to get out there and see him sooner than later. Every time I get together with him is always good. And then we all actually were fortunate enough, my extended family is still back home in Wisconsin, quite a few aunts and uncles and cousins. But we all were fortunate enough to get together for my grandma's 94th birthday party this last summer. It was awesome. She had a barn party in Wisconsin. It was sick.
That sounds like a pretty great 94th birthday.
Yeah,
I want to have
awesome.
a barn party when I turn 94.
For sure.
Put that one on the list.
Coolers full of beer, the full spread. I mean, they had venison, they had the fruit and veggie platter. It was insane. My Uncle Matt cooked, roasted barbecue chicken. It was awesome. And it was the moment of, like, the night that really caught me is, like, the next night I was at my grandma's. We were just talking, and she said, because 94, that's getting up there, and she still, like, has her mental capacity. She's smart as a tack, pretty quick witted, and she gets tired. She's old as dirt, but at the same time she was so, like, I could just tell she just had this smile on her face, and she said, "You know what? Yesterday was so much fun, you guys. Thanks for everything." And then she was like, she told me her goal was to remember everyone at the party. And this is a party over 300 people came to celebrate her birthday. And she
That's
said,
impressive.
and you know what? I did it with a smile on her face. And I thought that was really cool. I was, like, happy for her. I mean, that's pretty awesome to get to that age, have that many friends show up for your party. It was like, whoa. Pretty cool.
Definitely. That's crazy. So now that kind of you're older, do you have a family of your own?
Yeah, I do. I have a beautiful girlfriend. We've been together about 11 years, and then we have a 9-year-old son together.
Oh.
Yeah, so we got a good thing going. Got a place here in town, and he's awesome. He's the best part of my day, man. He just lights me up. It's crazy when you have a kid. It's a lot of work. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work. They have this thing that there's no off switch. Turn off. There's no off switch. So it's crazy. You have this thing that you're responsible now for 24/7, 365. You have this it's cool though. It's like this labor of love that just kind of comes over you, where it's like you want to do it. You know, you want. At least for me, it's just been. I've tried to put that, as much as I love work and love what I do. I've tried to keep that in perspective of, well, my main job right now is just, hey, I want you to just be a good dad. You know, give him the attention at home. Make sure you're checking up on his schoolwork now. Let's go over your spelling words and then go for a walk and get some fresh air. So it's just it's one thing that's kind of a whole nother depth of life, but it's been very rewarding, and I don't know, to not to think back, and would I not have a child? It just would, no way. You know what I mean? Like, it's just made my life so much more enriching, and it builds like so much character along the way too. I know it's probably hard for you guys to understand. You're like a whole different part of your life, and don't even worry about it right now. But kids are cool at some point. Kids are very cool. Yeah.
So, what kind of things would you say have changed about you since becoming a dad?
Yeah, I would have to say, it kind of makes you tighten up the loose ends a little bit, mostly because you kind of you have to be on. I guess I would call it. You have to be there. You don't get like an off day, or you can't just like unplug and be like. At least that first couple of years, I think, like, are critical as far as like development and stuff like that. But of course, you have people that can help out, and you can go to grandma's and people can watch them and stuff like that. But it just never goes away, like that, being a parent, and that's just something. It's just, once you're in the club, you're in the club. So I think that's kind of been one of the biggest changes for me is. I kind of have to, not have to, but I'm happy to, like, you have these other people that just kind of take priority. I can't just be free as a bird to go off and go on a hike with my friends on a Tuesday afternoon, every Tuesday afternoon. I still get out with my friends, don't get me wrong, but it's just, you kind of have to have a little bit more structure, a little bit more planning, kind of tying up, like I said, those loose edges a little bit. Maybe not quite have quite so many drinks on Saturday night, because you want to be able to get up and play on Sunday with your kid. Just little things like that. Go a long way. But I try to, just teach him the same things that, my family taught me, which is, be kind to others, follow the golden rule, do something productive with your life, whatever that is. If you want to do art, go do artwork. If you want to play a musical instrument, go do that. If you want to be on a sports team, go for it. I try to give him a balanced, like, mix of different things in life, and then support the things that he kind of gravitates to, or the things that he likes. I try to, like, just nudge him in that direction without necessarily, like, being too overbearing, or I don't want to, like, make him do something, oh, you're gonna play this sport or that sport. It's like, hey man, if you want to play a sport, cool, but if you're gonna commit to it, then commit to it. Do it wholeheartedly. Don't kind of go in between. So he's been awesome, and he's doing really good. I can't believe it. He's in 3rd grade now. He likes camping. He likes riding his bike around. He's got flag football coming up he's excited about. So he's great. It just brings so much joy, and you meet, he's got a couple little cousins now that are in my life over at the house a couple times a week. It's just very enriching. The community, he has friends at the little pool over the summer and stuff like that. So it's been a quite the ride, parenthood, but not one to shy away from if that's something that you want to do with your life, because it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I can tell you're a really great dad.
Thanks. All right, thanks.
Well, I'm going to kind of jump topics a little bit. Again, have you ever been in love?
Well, there's been a handful of individuals throughout my life that have impacted me significantly, that I have dated over time. So there's a handful of individuals that, when you say that word, kind of stands out in, like, prominence to me, because it's like, I don't know. I've heard other guys say this too, and it made sense to me. It's just like, so when you love a girl or are in love with someone, I'll use the term girl. Like, there's been a couple times in my life when you hold that person's hands, it's like you can feel it. Like you feel it. It's like it just goes straight to your core. There's been a couple of times in my life where I've definitely felt that, and it's just it's awesome. It's an awesome experience. That I've dated couple of these girls for multiple years, developed really deep relationships. That's why I said they've really impacted me. So yeah, I think I could say that I've been in love a couple times. Ironically, those things didn't quite work out or play out, and now that I've found someone that I love dearly, and now she's the mother of my son and stuff like that. And now I have like it's all kind of those things kind of. That's why I don't look back at them as like anything negative, or try not to make it too bitter, or have any resentment towards those relationships, because I try to look back on the good stuff. They were all important people in my life at those times in my life. They were they helped mold me and shape me into the person that I am now. So what's that song? God bless the broken road. I love that song because I think there's parts of that are really true. So if it comes along, go after it. I live fairly guarded, and I kept my walls up, and that sort of thing. But when you get that feeling in your hand, I'd go for it. Because it doesn't come along all that often necessarily. At least not in my experience. So, yeah, I think that's kind of where I would. It's been good. It's been a really good ride, and love. It's been it always shines through at the end of the day. It's like, it's the people that you love and your family and friends that you care about, right? That's what's important to me. That's what it's all about. How can I help these individuals? How did I give them? What did I do for them today? And then it's all about love at the end of the day. So yeah, totally. I'm with you on that one.
Definitely. Well, I know it's super awesome trait to be an optimist, and I would like to consider myself an optimist too, but
Yeah.
what would you say have been maybe some of the more difficult and challenging things you've had to go through in your life?
Yeah, there's been a couple setbacks. I've had a couple breakups that at the time were very challenging, painful. Um, those were things that still to this day I think back at some of this stuff, and it's still kind of like that little bit of sting, just a little bit, that's hard. But all of that kind of took a little bit of a back seat to when, like I mentioned earlier, that was really tough. That young kid had gotten in that car accident. And I don't know. That just really that was probably the most difficult thing I've actually been through, because there was these few days where it was almost like I just became so desperate. Like you wanted him to pull out of it so bad. It just made like those other breakups seem very insignificant compared to that. When you see these parents who have this child who's like fighting for their life. Just that was very. That was probably the hardest thing I've actually had to face to face, because he was on a basketball team that I was happening to be coaching at the time. So like I had these other basketball players coming in, and they were a complete wreck. Trying to be strong for them, and it was like a nightmare almost. Like this was like a night, it was like you're in this hospital room, and it was. I don't know. So that's the other trials and tribulations of my life kind of just really got put in perspective. When it comes down to really being in that situation of this is life and death, like those things that we think are so important sometimes, or so critical and things like that. It just kind of took a backseat to that. So that's why, I try to cherish each day with good intentions, and enjoy the time you get. I had a really cool conversation with this woman that she was like, every breath you take is really a gift if you think about it. And she's an older gal, and she's she's like, the older I get, with every breath just becomes more and more valuable, because you don't know how much time she's got. And it's just, that made a lot of sense. Staying in the present necessarily. I know I get caught up sometimes, what do I have to do tomorrow, or what can I get dwell on thinking about too much ahead, instead of just kind of enjoying, even just sitting out here in the sunshine with you, having this conversation is awesome. So trying not to take anything for granted, and just being present in the moment, I think goes a long way.
That's really nice. I like that a lot, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, would you say, looking forward to the future, how do you aspire to live moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's, planning out the next 3 to 5 years. That's a long way out. But I also think there's some like power in positive thinking and manifesting kind of your days and weeks and outlook on life by like what you project into the universe mentally. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I see myself moving forward in this direction, visualize it, and more often than not, that tends to happen even on like a day-to-day basis. If I'm planning out things in my mind, kind of visualizing how my day is going to go, at this time I'm going to be doing this, at 12 o'clock I got to go meet this person. I think there is some power in positive thinking and what your aspirations are for the future. So I try to I have this thing I put up. It's called a vision board, where I just put little pieces or pictures or words or verses or poems or phrases that have kind of made sense at that point in time, and try to put them up there on what I want to do in the next 6 months, year, or foreseeable future. I don't know. To me, I'm loving Colorado right now. At some point in my life, I have aspirations to move to a warmer climate
Very fair.
with some sort of water source, whether it be a river or big lake or Gulf of Mexico, something like that. That's kind of what I would like to do long term, is get somewhere where there's water nearby. That's one of the things I miss most about Wisconsin, is all of the water that's around, because Colorado is pretty dry and the elevation is super high. So at some point I want to get back out on the water. But in the meantime, I'm just kind of trying to keep what I got going on. My kid's doing so well in school that it's kind of, I don't really have an excuse to uproot and make a change or anything like that in the next couple of years. So I think I'm just gonna try to keep doing what I'm doing, being a active parent with him, and trying to be I'm in a good position at work. There's always room for opportunity and room to grow and develop, so I try to put a little energy into that. And just keeping my mind sharp. I'm always trying to read newer things with the food industry. I got a couple different books I'm going through right now: the Spice Bible and the Professional Chef 7th edition. That you're just always kind of trying to improve just a little bit on the day to day. I think that's how you build value over time in your career, right? The more knowledge you have, the more valuable you become. So that's just kind of my short term goal. Is I'm trying to gain as much food knowledge as I can across the board. So
Along those lines, what would you say are your biggest areas that you want to work on, like personal growth wise? Not necessarily like character flaws. Maybe what areas do you think you want to put some time and effort into and just become better at in terms of like characteristics?
yeah, I'd like to take a little bit more time to two areas. I think they're kind of connected. The first one is what I would consider to be like my spiritual side. I'd like to be able to invest more time into either like a daily kind of like I wouldn't call it like a meditation, but almost like I said, like a visualization, even like more in depth than that, where I can kind of try to tap more into more of my like spiritual side, if you will. And then in like conjunction with that, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with like your physical side. Like I have a fairly physical job, like I'm on my feet, I'm moving and things like that. But if I could just spend, and that's where I need to buckle down and just dedicate even just 30 40 minutes 3 4 times a week if I'm lucky, I think, just to go one step further to try and like, I feel like I'm maintaining a fairly like healthy like physical wellness, but I'd like to like do just like a little bit better. I'd like to be able to go an extra mile, or run just a little bit longer. Like that's kind of where I'm at. And it takes time too. You can't just go run a marathon your first day. I gotta kind of start small. I gotta start walking 3 or 4 laps on the track instead of 1 or 2, and then I gotta up that to 6 or 7 laps on the track. So it's all part of that building process. But those are kind of the two areas that I'm kind of trying to work on. just kind of getting a little bit more in tune with my spiritual side with the universe, and then trying to build up my physicality. I think that just goes back to that kind of want to being healthy and enjoying every day that we get. So.
Definitely. I think you've talked a lot today about how kind of just taking things step by step, and if you have a goal, just kind of working your way towards that. And I like that approach a lot.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes focusing on the end goal is just really like daunting sometimes.
So daunting.
Yeah. How would you stay motivated when you have something you want to achieve?
I think I stay motivated by, I try to pursue those avenues that that kind of light that fire under me. If I don't have a whole lot of interest in it, or if I don't want to if it's something that I don't, not to say that I try to keep it tunnel vision or anything like that, but when I feel those things that I'm passionate about, or when I feel that Tuesday morning, where instead of laying around and waiting for my alarm to go off when I'm already up and I'm feeling good, it's like, yeah, dude, get up and do an extra lap or an extra set of push-ups or whatever it is, and just try to keep. It's like when you have those opportunities that come your way to do it, just take advantage of it and do it. You don't, because then otherwise I have that excuse of it'll be hanging over me. It's almost like I chose to avoid it or something like that. So I try to today I'm going to have this goal in mind. If I focus on that one thing, that 1%, I'm going to try to do my best in that. Then I've already kind of started that snowball effect of I've already been productive. I got this going. Now let's build off of that and keep the momentum, right? Rather than being 5 minutes late. Now I'm already behind. Now I got to rush. Now I'm kind of panicked. Now everything's kind of falling. It's almost like the opposite effect, right? Instead of going in that positive snowball, everything's going in that negative direction. So that's kind of how I try to stay motivated, is doing some one productive thing in the morning to try to get that. Then I already feel accomplished. Like I've already, made the bed, or I already took the dog for a walk, or whatever your thing is for the day. That's it. I don't know. It kind of puts me in that right frame of mind to keep the production going.
Before you die, do you have kind of any things to check off the list? And you did mention you want to hopefully move somewhere warmer. But,
yeah. That's a good question. There's nothing that completely comes to mind, which is
that's good though.
That's good though, because I've had this conversation with myself not too long ago, where it was like, if something were to happen to me and I passed on, I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me or be sad about it, because you guys, I've had a good 38 years. I mean, it's been a good run, so don't cry at my funeral, you guys. I've really enjoyed the journey along the way, and I'm thankful for the time that I get moving forward, and there's a couple things that I think would be pretty fun. I think like an an Alaskan cruise, I think would be really cool. I think that would be cool to see. I would love to see the Eiffel Tower in Paris. I don't know, that's just one that I've always wanted to see since I was a kid. The pyramids in Egypt would be insane. Which is a whole other topic, right? We want to get into the Egyptian topic, we can do that. But so I think those are some of the big ones that I think would be really, really cool to see. If I even got to do one of those things, I would be more than happy, die a happy man. So we'll see what the future brings. That takes a little bit of planning and a little bit of cash, of course, but optimistic that good things are ahead. And even just here in Colorado, I was down at the Royal Gorge over this last summer, and it was awesome. They got this thing called the Sky Coaster that I ended up doing with my son. That was killer. Then they also have this zip line that literally goes right over the gorge. It's insane. I don't know.
That's really cool.
Have you been down
I've
there?
never been there.
It's I looked it up, and we were expecting to go down there. I honestly thought it would be this little on the side kind of zip line tour like they have over in Manitou or something like that. I thought it would be cool, but no, it's legitimately over the Royal Gorge. I think it's almost 2,000 feet down, I think. So that would be really fun to do. I think next time we come, we'll go on it. Unfortunately, you have to be 10 years old to go on it. My kid was only 8. He had just he was 8. He hadn't quite turned 9.
Have to come back.
Have to come back. Have to come back. And I was just like, well, that's probably a good thing. It's like, dude, when you're, and even maybe when you're like 16 and you're old enough to like make your own decision, you can go zip line over the gorge. But I think that would be a really fun one to do too. So.
Do you fear death at all, or you're kind of, would you say you're kind of at peace with it? Like, how do you feel about dying?
Okay, so all right, here's my kind of 2 cents on it. It's like we're all speculating, right? We're all speculating, like we don't have a clue what happens. And some people believe pretty strongly, and there's an afterlife, or some people say, oh no, it's just chemicals leaving your body, and that's why these people have these visions or whatever. But I don't know. There's like, I just watched a documentary on near-death experiences, where people have flatline for an extended period of time. This one kid was down for over an hour. And
wow!
One cop just kept giving him CPR, and sure enough, he came back. Right? Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
Yeah. So I don't know. And then like the things that they say, and I'm not putting all of my chickens in what other people have to say. I think there's some of it comes down to faith and what you believe personally, and everyone's entitled to believe what they believe. That's what's so great about it. I'd like to think, for what it's worth, I'd like to think that once you pass, that there is a second place that you go to. I think a lot of people refer to it as heaven, right? That's what kind of the term is, or a spiritual tier where you get to go to for eternity is what they say, right? Where everybody's young, no one gets sick, everyone's got room. It sounds pretty awesome to me. City of light, streets made out of gold. I don't know. It sounds pretty rad. And again, nobody knows. We don't know. So that's me, and being an optimist, that's kind of the direction I like to lean, is like, well, if we don't really know, I'm going to err on the side of that maybe there is something else out there, and maybe not. Maybe it's all maybe it's all rubbish, and I could be totally wrong too. But I had a good friend who also had a good outlet. He's like, well, I'm not sure about a heaven, but energy, right? Energy never dies. And he's like, so maybe when you die, you just you move into, like, you become someone's like memory, right? Or you become like an emotional feeling for someone that's thinking about you. Like, so you kind of just transcend your physical body. And I was like, well, that kind of makes sense too. Again, I don't, we're all kind of guessing, right? But I don't know. I'd like to think that my time down here has been really awesome already, So if I at peace, I think, was a good way of describing it. Like you said, like, do I want, of course I'd love to get another 40 years of health and wellness and goodness. But if not, if it's my time to go, anybody who says, I don't know, that like they're not scared, I don't know about that, because there is that, like, well, what if, nobody knows. So there's kind of like the unknown part of it is a little bit scary to me. But I think my faith it outweighs the worry. So
That's good to hear.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think happens?
I'm not really sure yet. I think I'm kind of still exploring, and I think that's kind of what's fun about, asking different people all these different questions. Is
for sure.
I think that,
because that's a big one. That's the only reason why I asked. That's a big question, like.
No, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I know, but there's if that would be it's a good. There's all sorts of material out there about NDEs, near-death experiences. Some of them are really good, and these people walk up to the these pearly gates and see the family members that they haven't seen, and they all look spectacular. 25 years old, they look phenomenal. Those are always cool to hear about. But then there's other individuals who have been in a car accident, and then all of a sudden they're in like this, dark, dirty place with these creatures like lurking around. Like, I don't know. There's all sorts of like crazy stuff out there. So it's kind of hard. It's hard to know what's what. But I don't know. Just my life experiences and my gut is telling me that at the end of the day, I think there's something else beyond that. I think, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they've almost like measured it, like when the human body dies, like across the board, I think you lose like or it's like 0.21 grams or something like that. Like everyone like is slightly lighter than when they were living, and that would, I don't know, the thought behind that is, well, that's the soul or the spirit like leaving the body, which makes sense to me when a lot of these people that have had these experiences, they say all of a sudden you're floating up over yourself, and you kind of know what's going on, but a lot of them are like at peace. They say it's like super, like they experience things that are hard to even put into words, and they see these people from their past or these places that they can't even describe the colors and stuff, which to me is just really cool to think about. Like, well, what if it is true? What if there is a place like that? Then I definitely want to be in on that party. For sure.
Definitely gotta go to that one. Do you have any fears then?
Yeah, I had a fear of drowning for some reason. That one seems to bother me. I don't know why. I love the water and stuff. I love going swimming. I love rivers, oceans, and that sort of thing. But just the fact of being trapped underwater or something like that, that one gets to me. But other than that, I mean, the thing that worries me the most is just, I hate to say it, but like growing old and getting like slowly dying in like a hospital bed, like that's, to me, sounds like kind of the roughest way to go, if you will. Like, hopefully when it's my time, it's quick and easy. But that kind of would be a fear of mine. But that's, also it's not necessarily for me to decide either necessarily. I'm just trying to live the best life that I can while I'm here, play the cards that I get, and then let the chips fall where they're going to fall. So, I try not to worry about too much of what's ahead, or worry about things that are out of my control, fears that I may or may not have. I try not to let that deter me too much.
That's awesome. I like that approach a lot. We'll go for one final question. Are you happy?
I'd have to say, yeah, I'm pretty happy these days, you guys. I've had some good times. I've had some down spots too. I really have. I think we all go through those trials and those, those tribulations and those challenges and obstacles. But I don't know. I've tried to like find the silver lining in all of those events, or how the world works in mysterious ways. What might be something really low point today, 10 years from now, you guys might be looking back on it and think, oh, well, that's why that happened, because now I'm here in my life, So yeah, I think happiness is almost like your attitude. It's almost like it's a choice, right? You kind of have the choice. Am I going to have when I get up every morning, I get the choice. Hey, am I going to have a good day today? Am I going to have a good attitude? Am I going to have that good effort to follow that good attitude? Am I going to choose to be happy, or am I going to let this affect me? Am I going to let that person's negativity affect me today? Am I going to let these things that I can't control, traffic or this stoplight or whatever it is, affect me? I don't know. I think that kind of comes down to like on a real primitive level. It's almost like you get the choice. It's like, no one can make up your mind for you. No one's gonna feel your feelings for you. It's kind of on you. And so I try to get up and run with that. And if I'm gonna do this today, let's make it the best we can do it, right? If I'm going to try doing this today, well, let's give it a good, honest try. And if it works out, great. If it's not for me, then let's move on and try something else. So, yeah, I am. I'm super happy, loving what I'm doing right now. Is there a few things that I would do differently over my life? Of course. Do I spend sleepless nights thinking and dwelling about things that have already happened and I can't fix? No. So, try to keep that chin up and that chest out, and life is really beautiful. It's good. It's a good place to be. Take care of your friends, take care of your family, you guys. Be kind to each other, and that's about all the best I got for you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Of course, it was super awesome to have you on. Definitely, I love a lot of things you said. Really hit home. So, yeah, thanks for making it. Super awesome time. Chef Tony, everybody.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks again.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow Point of View Podcasts on Apple Podcasts. We are not yet out on Spotify or other podcasting platforms, but hopefully soon. But in the meantime, hit that follow button on Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Episodes should be released about weekly, but I'm kind of flexible with that, so we'll see where that ends up going. But be sure to share with your friends and family if you enjoyed, and have a great rest of your day.